Shri Ekanathi Bhagavad Satsang. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we'll be continuing Shri Ekanathi Bhagavad Satsang, chapter 1, verse 12 onwards. Vishwamitra, Asita, Kanva, Durvasa, Bhrigu, Angira, Kashyapa, Vamadeva, Atri, Vashishta, Narada, etc. The great sages whom the Lord Sri Krishna always saluted with respect, who were energy personified by yoga practice and who were brilliant by light of penance, started to go to Pindaraka. So I hope you remember the story. Now Lord Sri Krishna Bhagwan is making a plan out how to annihilate his own Yadu Vansh. So to that effect, he's now asking the sages to leave to Pindaraka. So now we are just continuing from there. The great sages like Vishwamitra was the most powerful sage because of his invention of Gayatri Mantra and was able to create a new universe, and who was very insistent about his demands, started to go without delay. Asita, the sage who lived in an air-conditioned ashram and by whose name the pairs of opposites run away, also started to go. Then Kanva, who pleased the sun god and sitting in the ear of horse of the sun's chariot, recited all the Vedas, also went. Durvasa, who was voracious and also famous for his complete avoidance of food, also started to go. Bhrigu, the sign of whose kick is still borne on his chest, on his own chest, as a piece of decoration by Lord Sri Krishna, also began to go. Angira, who is the most intelligent in the whole universe and whose son Brihaspati is the teacher of gods, also started. Kashyapa, who is the father of gods, human beings and the angels, and after whom the universe is called Kashyapian universe, also got up to leave Dwaraka. The sage Vamadeva, who is much honored among the liberated men and who is praised in the Vedas, also started to go to Pindaraka. The greatness of Atri is surprisingly wonderful because all the three gods became his son as Datta, to whom great yogis pay homage. Great is the name of Anusuya, his mother. That sage Atri was the highest in rank amongst the sages and very eager to obey the instructions of Lord Sri Krishna, also started hurriedly. Vashishta, who was the Sadguru of Sri Ram and was great in his knowledge of the supreme reality and whose robe was more brilliant than sun. That Vashishta, the great sage, abided by the suggestion of Sri Krishna and started to go to Pindaraka by leaving Dwaraka immediately. Similarly, the divine sage Narada, whose knowledge was vast, who was always in a state of great bliss and who was eager to be interested in singing to the glory of Lord Sri Krishna, took his veena, held it on his shoulders, and singing the songs about Brahman, got up and started walking while dancing in the spiritual ecstasy. Thus all the great sages and many more great monks, taking with them their kith and kin and also their disciples, gathered in many numbers at the place called Pindaraka. Thus those who were capable of cursing, withdrawing their curse and giving blessings, assembled at Pindaraka and naturally began to talk among themselves, adoring the Lord and his majestic nature. The scheming Krishna arranged such a situation among his own offsprings by indirectly instigating them to ridicule the great sages, so that the whole race would be destroyed. Insulting Brahmins, ridiculing them and criticizing them amounts to their harassment, and when that is perpetrated, it is bound to result in the destruction of the race. The rage of Brahmins is so dangerous that no race has any power to withstand it. What of such a thing? Even the testicles of Lord Shiva had fallen, and all the riches of Indra, the king of gods, were drowned in the sea. The anger of a Brahmin was so powerful that the whole sea was turned into a salty one by Agatsi. On this earth, a real Brahmin is the Brahma, and his word is final. to be followed without questioning. And in order to prove this, the Lord Sri Krishna engineered the annihilation of his own race. So what is being told here, all the names which you heard just now, they were all the great sages, and the great sages and the saints, and everybody was very competent in his own field, and that is what we learned. And very important lesson here, what does it mean, what does it say? That you cannot get, you should never ever get a curse from the sage or a saint, never. So don't try to provoke them. Now here, who is scheming this plan? It is Sri Krishna Bhagavan himself. And please understand, we should never speak a word against, bad about any of the sages, the saints, the scriptures, or God at all. Whether it is our religion or any religion for that matter, it is the greatest sin that you are committing in your life. And please understand, your destruction is imminent. And never ever come into getting a curse by the sage. It is very dangerous because you don't know what can befall you. So it is always important that we always speak good, we be very humble, we should always seek their blessings and not their curse. But understand, when anything is happening, even in this case, it is happening for the good alone. See, even in the bad, there is always something good to come about. That is something we don't understand, but it is in the divine world, not in the demonic world or in the evil world at all. See, in this case, there is a reason why Lord Shri Krishna Bhagavan wants to annihilate his race. Like he said, if I were to leave my, the Yadavas on this planet Earth alive, what is going to happen is, see, though they were, please understand, we read yesterday, we learned that they were very humble, they were charitable, and they were respecting the sages and the saints, the Brahmins, they were taking care of them, all the good things they are doing. And they had the prosperity and everything because of Lord Shri Krishna Bhagavan's grace. Okay, now what happens when you have all of this? The one thing that comes to you is you become haughty with pride. You become haughty, arrogant, pride, all this, the power gets to your head. And that is why I was telling that whatever the power that God bestows on us, it should never be misused. And it should not be used for our own selfish benefits. I don't know where I was reading, and in that it was very beautifully explained that whatever that we have in our world, whether it is knowledge, whether it is the power, the wealth, the position, the fame, name, anything that might be, it is only because of grace of Lord Shri Krishna Bhagavan that we have this in our world. But when you don't acknowledge and you take it to your own self, thinking that you have earned it, it is my money, it is I am doing this, it's my thing, my position, my name, my fame, and you're getting haughtier by the day, then your destruction is definitely going to come about. You are going to fall from that path. So that is why if you look at success in the material world is only a short-lived. It is not sustained for a long time. And please understand, see, when you go up, higher up the ranks, you're also going to fall down because you're going to commit these errors. What do you think? You think you are doing something. You are the one who's, in the power, in the position. This knowledge is yours. You're taking credit for something which is not yours. Nothing in this universe is yours. Like my Krishna Guruji was teaching this morning in Bhagavatam, not even your breath is yours. So what makes you think you're alive is because of you. You're alive because of the spirit. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagavan says, I am that spirit in every being. It is because of me that you are alive. It is because of me that you're taking this breath. So what makes you claim that everything is you? So this is a big mistake that we make in our life. So never take credit or ownership of anything in this world. Always be your good self. You have to give to this world. The wealth is given to establish dharma, not to fill your coffers, not to fill your pockets and your bellies. The wealth is here to do good in this world, to this humankind. I, me, myself doesn't exist. That is why if you look at everybody suffering because of their karmic loop, the cycle of birth and death, they're suffering all of this because of the karma. And my Guruji explained something very beautiful. Please understand, the Lord also gives you, see, whatever place, the place, people, place, and things that you have in your world is because of your own karma. And he very beautifully put it across. What did he say? He said the Lord doesn't interfere in the karma of an individual. He never ever involves himself. And please understand, he personally doesn't do anything. He's the substratum of this entire universe. but he has the ones who do it for him. His Prakriti does it, who's the Mother Nature. She runs this universe. His Maya Devi is there. She takes care of it. She's the elusive power of the Lord. So understand how this universe is, run by the divine Lord. He himself will not do it, but his universe will make it happen. Just his thought is good enough. He doesn't even have to think. But here we are reading it because this is knowledge. So the way it is described is, okay, the Lord is planning everything. No, it is, he knows what is to be done. It is already pre-programmed. It's already programmed. It's already written. The story and the script, everything is already written. And he's just taking part in his own script. And that's how it works. So it's very beautiful. So coming back to our subject, please understand, do not ever, become the wrath of this great divine beings in your life. You should never ever, be subjected to their curse or anything from their mouth that is going to be bad, because that is going to affect not just us, the entire generation. I mean, our future generations are also going to suffer because of that. So always say good things. If you don't know, learn to keep your mouth shut. That's very important. So let us continue. Verse 13. The young sons of Yadus went to the sages in the wake of their play, and approaching them asked with false humility but inner sullenness. All the younger sons of Yadavas were playing with ball. They threw the ball up, caught it in their hands, and again were throwing the ball on their playmates who tried to avoid it. Thus, playing various games, they came to Pindaraka. They were very arrogant because of their riches, very sullen and uncontrolled. They thought among themselves, here are many sages who know the past and the future, and people say that what they say becomes true, but we will definitely deceive them. But if there is a thing quite impossible, how can it be possible by saying so? Thus the sons of Yadavas played a great mischief with the great sages. And what happens? See, what gets to the head, this is very beautiful. They were very arrogant because of their riches. So this is something we have to always avoid. Humility is the word. We should never give our children also this kind of upbringing. We have to teach them what it is to be humble. See, please understand, they need to be taught the value of money and everything. Because when riches get to the head, they become very arrogant. They become pride. They become uncontrollable. And that is why their downfall becomes imminent. And they cannot be a good human beings in this world. So always teach them good stuff. To be their good self is what you have to teach them. You have to teach them how to be humble, how to respect people. All these things we have to teach our children. Because today the social media influences quite a lot. And you don't know how their, the friends are. So you have to always monitor and keep a watch on them so that they don't get influenced by all the bad things happening in the world. And also by their own friends' bad influence. They should not get into that. So let us continue. Verse 14. Having attired Samba, the son of Jambavati, with the clothes of a woman, they said, O Brahmanas, she with dark eyes, being pregnant, wishes to ask you. They were already puffed up by prosperity. Over and above, they resorted to cunning. They dressed up Samba with the clothes of woman. He was dark and handsome with lustrous eyes, and the female attire looked good upon him. He was also expert in acting and easily affected the shyness, the modesty, and the attractive glances like a woman. He had put kajal in his eyes. He moved his eyes in such a way that the onlooker would be enchanted. He was having a delicate and beautiful build, and he began to show off with a peculiar catwalk. Other mischievous boys tied rags of cloth upon his belly, so that he would appear to be a pregnant woman. He was walking slowly, putting his hands on the shoulders of his companions, trying to keep the bulge still and taking rest at every step. They saw him like this. Samba, like a modest lady, stood at a discreet distance from them. The young Yadavas in a group approached the sages and prostrated before them. I am explaining the half of the verse again to keep in touch with the context. With an intention to play pranks, the young Yadavas walked around the sages respectfully, touched their feet and said, we have come to have the benefit of seeing you personally. Thus, though they were not humble, they showed outwardly their modesty and stood there with folded hands and repeated thus. Sirs, the young lady who standing yonder has great faith in whatever you say. She is pregnant and the term is nearly complete, but she is very shy to ask you herself. So the next verse, verse 15, she is shy to ask directly to you, O rishis of unfailing speech. Please tell, she desires to have a son. Will she give birth to a son? So this is a prank you're playing with the sages and the saints, which is very dangerous. Never ever do this. As she is not bold enough to request you personally, she is asking through us. You are really truthful, capable of seeing the reality. Your word never proves to be false, which even the gods Hari and Hara obey. All of you are very generous in regard to knowledge. This pregnant lady is therefore asking you most humbly about what child she will get. She desires to have a son. In this way, with false devotion, they stood humbly with folded hands. They were liking what deceit they were indulging in, and they got the fruits according to their feelings. Knowing their falsehood, the sage Narada actually began dancing gladly. He said to himself that the death of Yadavas is now very near. When the ants get wings, their death is quite near. Similarly, when people harass Brahmins, the destruction of the race is at hand. Though a Brahmin may be abusing with filthy language, one should bow before him with great respect. Though a Brahmin may come to beat or kill, one should bow before him. This is a very powerful line and a very important line. What is being told here? What is Eknath Maharaj saying here? He's saying, though a Brahmin, see, when we say a Brahmin, he's the knowers of the Brahma. He could be a guru, he could be a sage or a saint, whoever it is, okay? So let me clarify this. So though a Brahmin may be abusing you with filthy language, he may be using all bad words to scold you, okay? One should bow before him with great respect. Though a Brahmin may come to beat or kill, he might even come and beat you or kill you, come to kill you. One should bow before him. This is very important. The Guru's way of operating is very, very unique. Why they do what they do, nobody can understand and nobody can even realize, nobody can even explain what they are trying to do. And this truth is not known to anybody. See, when the Gurus say anything, you know, they give you, they say bad words or whatever, they are abusing you with filthy words, saying no filthy language. Understand, all the good things is happening to you. They're actually destroying a lot of your tendencies, whatever that evil that is there in you. Actually, they're removing those things by doing it. In fact, they're doing the greatest good to you. But how does a human being look at it? They will think, how dare this person speak to me? He's not a person, he's divine, he's divinity, he's Para Brahman, he's Brahman himself. So please understand, this is a great privilege one can get. So anytime your Gurudev is scolding you, just know that he's showering a lot of blessing on you, a lot of good coming to you. But please be very careful. Anytime your Gurudev praises you, your downfall is very sure. So never take a praise from any sage, saint or anybody. Take the beating, take the scolding, you will evolve. Take their praises, you will fall down. And this is the truth. To harass Brahmins is like taking poison. Poisons kill only the man who takes it, but by harassment of Brahmins, the whole race is destroyed. See, this is very dangerous. When you say something bad, you're not only doing bad to your own self, but you're doing bad to all the people associated with you. So that is why we got to be very careful what we speak. One should understand that a Brahmin may be clever or stupid, but he is the embodied Brahman on earth. And if somebody starts to harass him, he is sure to see his whole race destroyed. So this is something a man has to understand. How you have to behave in your world. Don't take things for granted. If you don't know something, please do not abuse anybody. It's not good to call names or say bad things about divine beings when you don't even know about them. Never utter a word. Never utter a bad word. Next verse 16. O king, the sages were very much angry by this mischievous insult and said to them, O fools, she will deliver a pestle which will be the destruction of your race. See, there's a very interesting verse. What is being said here? In this way, with false devotion, they stood humbly with folded hands. They were liking what deceit they were indulging in, and they got the fruits according to their feelings. This is a very important verse. What does it mean? It is what is the feeling inside of you. How you worship, the fruit of your worship is going to be exactly like that. So what level of purity are you worshipping God? Please understand one very important lesson here. Even if you portray falsely, what are they portraying? They are portraying false devotion, aren't they? It's a very important lesson for anybody who is very interested in their spiritual wheel. So if you're portraying like outwardly you're very nice and you're portraying a devotion, but internally in your heart the devotion is not pure, the devotion has a fault, what kind of a fruit will you get? The fruit of your devotion will also be exactly like that. So you're not going to be pure 100%, because please understand who's watching you inside. It is not what you project outside, it is what you feel inside that matters. The inner feeling is your external power. Who said this? Shripad Shivallabh, Lord Dattatreya himself said it many times. He says, what is your heart representing? What are you feeling inside? The inner feeling matters the most. You cannot have deceit, self-conceit and try to portray how great a devotee you are. You're faking it. In the world of spirituality, you can't fake. Truth is all that has to stand here. You have to be very truthful of who you are. You cannot have a deceitful nature inside, because the witness is Lord Shri Krishna Bhagavan alone. So whatever the blessing is going to come is exactly going to be with the deceit, right? So the fruit of that, whatever that you've asked for, the fruit is also going to be in the same manner. Very nicely said here. Understand this. They were liking what deceit. See, in this way, with false devotion, they stood humbly with folded hands. So you're portraying a false devotion. And in this way, they were liking what deceit they were indulging in. They were enjoying the deceit, and they got the fruits according to their feelings. This is a very important lesson. So please understand, it is your bhav inside. So truth is the word. The first foundation of spirituality is absolute truthfulness. Meaning, I'm saying absolute, meaning it's truthfulness. Truth is the word. So the truth of your feeling, whatever that is, it has to be 100%. You have to speak truth alone. You can't have a hidden, deceitful thing. Oh, I am 50% truthful, 50% not. That it doesn't work like that. Truth, it is one straight line. Then, the reason why I'm emphasizing is you need to understand what they meant, because it's a very important thing. So even in your life, do not have this kind of self-conceit and deceit, because your progress, whatever that you're evolving, will exactly be like that. So being truthful to yourself matters the most, because spirituality is not an outwardly journey, it's an inward journey. It is within, it is not outside. Because in the material world, you're external, you're not internal. But in spiritual, you have to go inward. The journey is inward, because the divine Lord is in your heart. So, O sages, O king, the sages were very much angry by this mischievous insult and said to them, O fools, she will deliver a pestle which will be the destruction of your race. O king, Parikshit, listen. In this way, the younger Yadavas were having the death wind in them, and they tried to play mischief on the sages. The great sages, knowing their deceit, got very angry and threw their words like lightning on them. See, understand, do you think that the sages and saints don't know? They're all knowing. They know what is there in your heart, what you're thinking, what you have come for. They know it all. So when you go in front of your guru, a saint or anyone, please understand you are standing in front of the divine Lord, who is all knowing. He's the Paramatma. Don't you try to bring your fakeness, selfishness, conceit, deceitfulness. Please don't try to portray all your fake from the material world in front of the guru. Please go with a very pure heart. Go with that, truthfulness and face him. Because here, none of this thing works. And if you do so, it is going to actually backfire to you. Be very, very careful. They uttered curse. O young Yadavas, the child born of this will be the death of your race. How unfortunate you are. You shall get a pestle as her child. It will be having pure iron. So the next verse 17. Hearing this, they were much terrified. Immediately they bared the belly of Samba, and their saw the big pestle destined to destroy their race. Hearing the sentence of the curse, the sons of Yadavas were very much afraid and hurriedly removed the clothes wrapped around the belly of Samba and looked. They saw the iron pestle and they were utterly frightened. The intention of the Lord Shri Krishna to destroy the Yadavas, which was very strong, thus became the iron pestle by the prophecy of the sages. See, it is the will of the divine Lord that happens, but he himself doesn't do anything. What is he saying? Just the intention. He just has to think, okay, not even think. He just knows, okay, I need to now destroy this. That's all. The universe works accordingly. He doesn't even lift his finger. This is the truth, which everybody has to understand. God doesn't do anything. Krishna Bhagavan himself is not a doer. His supreme divine consciousness, understand this. His universe works. Just him, when you say anything to him, his universe are always adheen to him and they're ever ready to work for him. So be very good. Don't you say anything wrong, anything bad. Don't come up with any of your evil, the evil propensities within you. Always be your good self. That is why my Guruji will teach. It is not about what you were in the past, how you were, but when you come in spiritual, when you get this knowledge, your job is to be your good self. My Guruji will always say, no matter how the world behaves, Rajma, it is for you to always do good alone. We are here. We are representing Lord Shri Krishna Bhagavan. His universe will take charge. But we are not supposed to do anything bad to anyone. Not even speak bad about anybody. This is what it is. We have been taught. This is our dharma. This is our scripture. It is as laid by Shri Krishna Bhagavan and we have to follow. That is one of the most important requirements of evolving in the spiritual world. So coming back, they saw the iron pestle and they were utterly frightened. So, okay. The intention of Lord Shri Krishna to destroy the Yadavas, which was very strong, thus became the iron pestle by the prophecy of the sages. Whatever the Brahmins said was not disregarded by Shri Krishna. He proved every word uttered by these Brahmins as true. Seeing the anger of the great sages and hearing the curse of destruction of the race, the young Yadavas were greatly affected by fear. So the next verse, verse 18. They said among themselves, "Oh, what have we done? How bad is our fate? What will people say to us?" So being worried, they took that big pestle and went home. They said, "We are really ill-fated. We are unfortunate. How foolishly, by our deceitful mischief, we have brought upon us the wrath of the sages and have ourselves become the cause of our own genocide. What will the citizens say to us? Why at all did we go to harass the Brahmins? They will blame us." So thinking, all of them took that pestle and with a total dejected mood, they went home. So next verse, 19. Taking that pestle and with their faces down, with all luster gone, they went to the conference of all Yadavas and in their presence told everything to the king Ugrasena. In the conference were seated Vasudeva, Ugrasena, Balrama, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, all the great Yadavas, but only the Lord Shri Krishna was not there. All sons, including Samba, came to the conference and placing the pestle before all, reported the crestfallen faces, the story of the curse. Verse 20, hearing about the infallible curse given by Brahmins and looking at the pestle, O King Parikshit, those dwellers of Dwaraka city were astonished and terrified. The Yadavas trembled with fear when they heard about the anger of the Dvijas, that is sages. And Dvijas means twice born. And knowing that the curse by Brahmins never fails, they were greatly disturbed by fear. When they saw the pestle actually before them, there was great consternation, and when the foreboding news spread out, the citizens of Dwaraka were completely upset with the apprehension about how the Yadava race could survive. Listen, O king, to the turn of events. The strong destiny was such that they did not tell anything about this to Lord Shri Krishna, but took decisions by themselves. So next verse, 21. Ahuk, the king, who was known as Ugrasena, bade people to pulverize the pestle and throw the powder in the sea, and also the ring of iron around the end of the pestle. Ugrasena, the king, also known as Ahuk, told his servants to bring a big hammer and arranged to beat the pestle to make a fine powder of it and to throw it in the sea. The core of the pestle was very hard. It could not be pulverized. He ordered that portion to be thrown likewise in the sea. Verse 22. Some fish swallowed that iron piece, while the particles of the powder were borne by the waves to and deposited on the shore, where they grew into a kind of grass called iraka. Okay. The fish was caught in a net along with other fishes in the sea by some fishermen. A hunter fixed the iron piece found in its stomach to the point of his arrow. The powder of the pestle was carried by the waves of the sea to the shore of Prabhasa, and it, in the course of a short time, grew into a grass called iraka. A fish gulped the hard iron piece. A fisherman threw a net in the sea, and the fish was caught in it with other fish. The fisherman caught all the fish out of the net. The fisherman cut the fish, and the iron piece was found in it. The fisherman, with the common belief that one who finds such a piece is lucky, was very glad. It was believed that such an iron piece found in the stomach of a fish, which when used on an arrow penetrates the target without fail. He therefore used it for his arrow. So now what happens? We will continue. Okay, let me finish this one verse so that we can start a new chapter tomorrow. So verse 24. The Lord, who was knowing all the significance of these things, did not wish to counteract the curse of the Brahmins, though he was Almighty God, and as if he was death himself, allowed the events of the curse to take their own course. The Lord knew all about this, though not informed by anybody, but he never thought about turning down the curse of the Brahmins. Some might say that it was really not possible for him to counteract the curse given by the Brahmins. But no, you could see that he had brought back the dead son of his guru alive again. Who was guru of Sri Krishna Bhagwan? Sandipani. And Sandipani's son was brought back alive by Krishna Bhagwan. That is the Guru Dakshina he offered to his Gurudev. So he was the controller of time and death. See, time and death is everything is in his hands. The only one in this entire universe can override your destiny is your Gurudev, who's none other than Sri Krishna Bhagwan. It's only your, only when divine, that is Krishna Bhagwan himself, comes in the form of a guru, who manifests as a guru, has the power to rewrite your destiny. And most important, and death he can alter. But the problem with human beings, nobody listens to his instructions. When a guru is giving you certain instruction, you do not follow. And then what happens? Your destiny comes about. And when destiny comes about, then the Lord is never going to interfere. My Guruji, he always tells people, look, this is what is going to come about in your life, because that is your prarabdha karma. That is your destiny, the prarabdha karma which you have come with that particular body. And these are the events. So he gives them a warning, he gives them a heads up. And what does he say? You can avoid this, provided you do this and don't do this. But what does the individual do? They don't listen. They will end up doing that which he has told them not to do. And then what? They will not even keep in connect with him. And that whole cycle of destiny comes in front of them. They are going to go through hell. They don't know what their future is. They don't have any idea about it. So only by the grace of the Guru can this destiny be overridden. Can it be averted? Provided you listen. Many a time I scream, my Guruji and me, we scream murder. Meaning what? We scream our throats, like literally we scream out and we tell them, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But people do not listen. They think we have some ulterior motive in telling people to do this or do not to do this. We're sitting here jobless, I feel very sad that nobody wants to change their destiny. Why do you want to live that miserable life? You don't know what destiny means. When destiny gives you 2 tight slaps, you don't know what actually hit you. Because it's very dangerous. Don't think you have a very bright future. You don't know whether it is good or bad. Both, you don't know what is there in store for you. So that is why it is very important to follow the instructions of your Gurudev to the T. Don't go against him. And if you go, then that is your funeral. Nobody can save you. Even God comes, he can't save you. Simple as that. So continuing. some might say that it was really, okay, yeah. So you could see that he had brought back the dead son of his guru alive again. So he was the controller of time and death. He who had brought back alive from dead the sons of Devaki, who was really the god of all gods, and he was knowing his power to make things happen as he wished. He brought all the citizens of Mathura to Dwaraka without disturbing their sleep, what was impossible for him. But even he did not become soft towards his own Yadavas. So what does it mean? He is not going to spare anybody, even if it is own clan. So please understand, don't think God is, God is biased and he's favorism. He's got some favorite people. All this is stupid. It's your mind's concoction. You don't know God Almighty. You don't know his justice. His justice is same for everybody in this world. He's equal to all. And most important, his love is the same. It is how you feel. My Guruji will always teach this very powerful lesson. See, Krishna Bhagavan is the reflection. It is what you reflect is what you will experience 1,000 times. So if you are going to reflect anger, 1,000 times anger will be given back to you. If you give him love, 1,000 times love will come back to you. So it's your reflection. He reflects you. So he's just a mirror of your heart. What is in your heart is what gets reflected. So become very good, become divine. Follow Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, verse 1, 2, 3. Kindly follow that. Then only you can experience all that you want to in him, not otherwise. So if you show your meanness, he's going to reflect back 1,000 times more meanness. You can't handle that. So this is what comes to you, which means what? You will become 1,000 times more meaner. So only think good. Don't think bad. It is your mind's reflection which is going to give you back the same thing. So be very careful of what you think. Though his Yadava race was on the verge of destruction, he did not think about contradicting the curse of those Brahmins. A Brahmin, Bhrigu, kicked him in the chest, but he bore that stigma of his kick as ornament throughout his life and even afterwards as Lord Vishnu. That is called Sri Vatsa Lanchanam. He toted the impression of the foot as the best of his ornaments. That is how he became famous as the god who loved Brahmins. The Lord Sri Krishna respected Brahmins by bending his head to their feet. He never allows the words of Brahmins to be proved as false. So Vedas praise him as lover of Brahmins. Brahmanya Deva. What does it mean? See, this is a very important thing. Even if you read Krishna Leela or any scripture for that matter, even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagavan says one very important lesson. I am the very self of the gurus. The why. If you have a guru, please understand I am the very self of this being. So don't ever disregard the guru because he is none other than me alone. He is very dear to me. I am very dear to him. Guru Sakshat Parabrahman. So don't take it so easy and granted that you are talking to some human being. Kindly understand the privileges that you have in your life. Do not disregard a guru. Don't go against their words. Don't, my Guruji will say in Hindi, Panga nahi lene ka, he'll say. It means, do not mess with me. Don't mess with these divine beings. They only mean good to all. Don't try to mess with them. Then it is not they who will do anything. On the contrary, they're epitome of compassion. They're very compassionate. Their benevolence is beyond measures. You can't even describe it adequately. They're so good. Good is that's actually more for human beings. They are personification of all the goodness that exists in this universe. They stand for divinity. They are the Parabrahman. Their love is, it's a divine love, which is not understood by human beings, crass human beings, who only live in the material world called Maya. So be very careful. Krishna Bhagavan is very clearly saying, he is the servant. There's very beautiful, in Krishna Leela, he says once, I am the servant of my devotee. What does it mean? A disciple who is a servant to the guru. Krishna Bhagavan becomes the servant of that disciple, that servant. That is the greatness of these gurus. So guru is a primary thing in life. He is greater than God, meaning I'm talking not Krishna Bhagavan, because Krishna Bhagavan is Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru. He is the universal guru. And in the form of Dattatreya is the supreme master. He's a Param Guru. So nobody is greater than him. But when the Guru is there, understand, any devotee any disciple who's so devoted to their Guru, Krishna Bhagavan himself says, I am the servant of the devotees, of my devotees. Such is his words. You don't know the greatness of it. I can't even describe adequately in words. It is so profound. After hearing about the curse, not only he did not become soft towards Yadavas, but thought that his own intention to destroy the Yadavas was thus being fulfilled. Thus he was happy about all the impending destruction. He did not at all feel sad or worried about the whole Yadava people being wiped out. On the contrary, the Lord was very much satisfied. The story, which is full of wisdom, is to be told in the next chapter. It is very interesting and enlightening. So the listeners may please pay attention to my discourse. It is the sweet dialogue of sage Narada and Vasudeva. Your soul will merge in the pool of joy when you will listen to the questions of King Janaka and the 9 sons of Rishabh. This is the story of juicy wisdom of reality, that is Brahman. It is pure spirituality. I will make it interesting to you. For this, Eknath is praying his Guru Janardana, and listeners are entreated to pay attention. Here ends the commentary by Saint Eknath Maharaj on the first chapter of the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavat Purana. So, thank you for joining Shri Eknathi Bhagavat Satsang. Have a good day and good evening to you all. God bless.
Recording stopped.
Thank you, Rajma.